one always wants to know. So the situation is, no, it ain't YouTube this time, it's the Sledge. It was actually, I'm in a bad location. So, what's up, Rob? So, election has never really protected anybody. Even back in the olden days when they used to have someone from the community that they would vote to be the leaders. See, back before everybody was mainly a gang, like if you've seen the gangs of New York, through the election, they were able to make some changes to make laws to change everything. You know, so the Irish, they didn't have a voice, so they had somebody who was a political stance, who was making a change, and they rallied behind him because he was like the only smart person that they had, basically, who could run for office. And through the savagery, even though they won the election and people voted them out, they killed him on the spot. And they were trying to handle things diplomatically, which ended up leading to all-out violence. Now, even today, when you elect someone in the office, there's some people that try to do things. But we know that there is a standard place. It has to go through different to be approved for things to actually take place and happen. Once you start affecting people's jobs, things start to happen. Inner city very poor. And I've seen the lack of the effort of trying to help do what these people are elected and paid to do. Only during election time do they come out and try to fix a couple of things because they want to get elected. But an actual care for the people is just an illusion and a smokescreen. Now, Dr. Boyce Watkins, you know, I had to mention him. I rarely stay away from guys like him because they say the right thing, and then they kind of mix it into some other BS that they're supporting. Now, he said, we're mad at Kanye West because Kanye West is a Republican who cares about black people. Now, when I heard that, I said, that's exactly what you know, a comment. And I don't care about that. Anybody ever mentioned Kanye as being a Republican? Not once. I can't name one time somebody said something about Kanye was being a Republican. Nobody cares about Kanye being a Republican. That's not on anybody's mind. Why would it be? There are just a lot of ancestors that look like Dr. Boyce Watkins and others. Sorry about that. And others that have seen a lot worse in their days. To sit there and see a black man parade around like he did in that White House. The Ben Carsons. We don't even know if he's Republican. No one was talking about who he voting for. Black people don't care about that. We could care less about his political status quo. He can be a Republican. There's plenty blacks who are Republicans that we just don't care about. But all the soft shoe tapping and dancing and I love you and hugging the president. You see they was gripping up like they were finna lay Kanye West down when he ran up at that Trump. Secret Service is looking like, whoa, what is this? Loving this man, hugging this man like he got love for you. You know, these are the type of things. No, Carcino ain't shaved. Because Carcino been up early this morning making runs. My uncle's a cop. So if I hug somebody, it'll probably be my uncle. And I don't even think we've done that. We do the halfway hug. But I don't hug him because he's a cop. I don't have a problem with police officers. People who do crimes have problems with police officers. I don't. I have problems with crooked police officers. Now, if you're a crooked cop, yeah, I have a problem with you. You don't need to be on the force. You need to be removed. When was America great? Especially if you're black. So wearing that hat is like an oxymoron. America was never great for blacks, period. So for a black man to wear that hat, it's like a complete slap in his own face. Because he doesn't know how stupid that sounds. Make America great again. And you wearing that. This hat is like, I feel like Superman. I'll be like, you feel like a stupid man. Yeah, stupid man. That's exactly what you sound like. So for Dr. Boyce Watkins, who wants to say we're mad because he cares about black people. What have Kanye West done that was about black people? What has he done? So for you to make a statement like that is, once again, is saying what somebody want to hear to stir the masses. People are not giving you the real. That's why I can't trust some of these people out here. They give you this mixed message. We care because Kanye West is a Republican who cares about black people. He don't care about no black people. He say free Larry Hoover because that's the popular thing to say. You're saying free Larry Hoover because you know blacks in the city of Chicago and the people that you affiliated mostly with were gangster disciples. So yes, now you saying free Larry Hoover. Oh, that's gonna get me a pass for all this other stuff I done said. That's like a politician during election time going to buy book bags and school supplies for these kids. But throughout the years, they basically robbing them and keeping them incarcerated in high incarceration rates throughout the year. But they go on TV and hand out book bags and hug some kids and smile. And we say, well, he doing something. At least he trying to do something. See, we always become apologetic to somebody because we love their job. We'd be like, man, LeBron could score. You know, LeBron could shoot though. So you forgive all the BS they do. LeBron give his kids liquor. Oh, it's all right, man. It's just a little sip. It ain't gonna kill him. LeBron gonna average a triple-double. Who cares about some liquor? Anybody else? It'd have been the third degree. They need to get them kids. Everybody else would have been all up in arms about LeBron James getting his liquor. So Kanye makes songs they like. So they're going to be apologetic to Kanye West. And be like, see, y'all ain't listening to all the good stuff he said. You see how he talked about how the jobs and everything. I'm like, he talked halfway through everything. He never explained anything fully. He was just a confused person talking half-truths. Kanye West was just speaking half-truths on everything. Trying to say, that's like saying, we got a gang problem in Chicago. We got too many people killing people in Chicago. It's like, yeah, we know this. What's your solution, Kanye? See, not one time did he mention any solution to anything. He never spoke about prison reform. He never spoke about the education and the closing of the schools, the arts and craft and the music programs, of course. Those have been taken out of the schools, but you just can't say, we need to put them back in the schools. They're closing schools, Kanye. That was the perfect time for you to talk to the president about why we're closing these schools and how we're going to come up with a program or a way to get schools back open to help pay the teachers that are underpaid, especially in the city of Chicago. You see, people are out here doing things, but the government is not supporting it. Your president. Now, the problem in Chicago is the gentrification that you never mentioned. You or Dr. Boyce Watkins. So if you want to know what the problem is they tore down the buildings and they didn't give the people enough money to sustain and live in the same areas. They raised the price of the rent, evicted the people out of those buildings, the Cabrini Greens, the Robert Taylor homes, all those project buildings that was near downtown, because Chicago wanted to expand downtown and put a lot of money in it because they wanted to get the Olympics. They wanted to build downtown and build the value up. So they were in the bids to try to get the Olympics, and they lost the bid, but they've improved downtown Chicago. You have Millennium Park now. It's more of a tourist site, so it brings in more money and more revenue. Now downtown, the projects was very close to downtown, in case you know that. So people didn't feel safe going downtown because all these unsavory characters, black folks who were poor, live there because that's where everybody, they put all the black folks when they moved out to the suburbs. Now they want to build up downtown. It's too close to downtown now. So now they got to move the brothers out of there. So now they're going to tear down the buildings, give them some money, and now they got checks, no place to live. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the first place they can find that's close to where they live, right over to Inglewood. Most of them got territory in Inglewood, and there was a lot of characters in those buildings who weren't on the up and up. They grew up in poverty, you know, so of course they were gang affiliated, doing crimes, drugs. So now you move in another territory where other people are. There's going to be, they already set up shop. Now you own their territory. What's it going to be? Who's going to back down? And it's been the war ever since. The crime level is up. They're over-policed. The police don't care. They're just there to pick up the bodies. There ain't no real investigations going on. And if they do, arrest who's living, bury who's dead. It's part of their plan. So, in those areas, lack of jobs, people got to close early because they're afraid that when the sun goes down, they're going to get robbed if they stay open. So they close as soon as the sun go down. So you got lack of jobs in the community. All the recreational centers are gone. You see, when you live in a thriving environment, you start to see the difference. Their schools have computer labs. They have education programs. They have a music school. They have all different things that are flourishing. They have internet cafes. They have recreational arcade areas. They have places where kids can go and communicate and do things without committing crimes. In the inner city, there are no job programs. You're closing the schools down. There's no recreational centers. So when the kids meet up in the streets, what are they going to do? They're going to meet up in the streets, do something unconstructed. So when you see this with your own eyes, you go, wow, okay. Maybe we got to rethink how this process is working. Maybe we got to rethink our process of thought. It's about what he didn't say. Anybody can go there and talk a bunch of rhetoric. You see what I'm saying? Anybody can go there and say, yo, it's too many guns in Chicago and there's a lot of people dead. I mean, they be mad. He's speaking the truth. He's speaking a bunch of common facts. You have to get these, you got to get these trade programs open. Trade, realize that most of the jobs that are out here that pay 60, 70, 80,000, there's very few blacks that have them. Mostly Caucasian has these jobs because blacks don't even apply because we don't even know the trade. Carpentry work, construction. We've dropped so much in that department and it's pretty much locked down by Hispanics and Caucasians. They learn these trades early. The trade schools, we used to know that back in the 70s and 80s. Your dad probably could do plumbing. He could probably design a wood and everything, had a wood shop in his garage. He could build stuff. That stuff is gone now. These kids don't know how to build nothing. No. We're talking about now, those are warehouse jobs that are getting outsourced. There's jobs here, construction, building, that pays big money. Working in auto shops, high-end auto shops, you can make $3,000 a car, depending on what the service is. I've seen it. But the problem is, you guys are not in the know. You guys are not privy to the education because they've closed a lot of the trade schools. You need to get recreational centers open for these kids. Okay, they need recreational centers to go to. You want to bring down the violence? That's what you're gonna have to do. You got to actually put a foot forward to try to work. If you don't give somebody an option and you're going to tell them what they're going to do, put down their gun and not eat, you won't give them a job. They got to take 3 buses and a train to get to where the jobs are that's paying. Because there's no jobs in their community. Where you go to a thriving environment where there's a low crime area, you look at what they have as compared to what high crime areas don't have. And that way you can assess a problem right away. See, thriving neighborhoods, they have jobs for their kids. Kids 16 years old, they work at the neighborhood pizza place. They like, wow, the kids, they learn how to function and meet with their friends, and they learn how to interact with people. Because a lot of these kids in the inner city, they don't even know these people that they run into. They run into them when they're in a gang fight. That's the only time they have to join a gang or something in order to meet people and socialize, besides school. So they have no interaction of meeting with kids in a recreational, playing environment. No, they don't have jobs. In the city of Chicago, it's very limited jobs that are for young kids, like a little restaurants that's in their area that they can relate to. And that's a problem. It's always been a problem. That's not a shame. An inner city problem in America. They have the same problem in Baltimore. They got the same problem in this town. They got it in town. They got it in this town. Every poverty-stricken area, it's a lack of jobs for that's normally held for teenagers. We've seen it happen countless times. No recreational centers. No place for them to go and interact. So they have no options but join a gang, do drugs. First time or first place we can go and be social. So why not? We're here. Let's do drugs. Let's party. House party. That's the only interaction they have. Now, a lot of these people, they persevere. And those guys who persevere, they use that as the example and say, well, Timothy made it. He went to high school. He went to college. He lived there. He didn't go in a gang. He didn't do all these things. Way to go, Timmy. I could say that. But I guarantee you, Timmy friends, one of them was a foe, one of them was BD, one of them was a G, one was fighting, he was in a gang. He ain't really hit the books like that. Not everybody has those options. Not everybody has those opportunities. Timmy probably grew up with a single parent household and came through, and he had the will to do it, and that's great for Timmy. But he's the exception. Okay? The rule is the majority don't. And Timmy shouldn't have to fight the odds to make it. Because truth of the matter is, all the politicians, Rahm Emanuel, all these other guys who came in there, the mayor, Daley, they didn't care. They turned a back eye to it. They turned their back to it and say, well, we got to just cut down the violence. Okay, you got a wound that's gushing blood, and you just keep putting a Band-Aid on it till the Band-Aid gets soaked. Then you take the Band-Aid off, you put another Band-Aid on it till it gets soaked. Pretty soon, you're going to have to fix the wound. But they don't want to fix the wound. So Dr. Boyce Watkins, your assessment of Kanye West, who thinks because Adidas wants to make attention, they're going to make money, bring in a facility and give jobs in the city of Chicago when they bring in their Yeezy line. They thought of what way and what cost would it cost them to do this. They said, well, what is the best way to do this? Okay, yeah, we'll give them a little something, but the big jobs are still going to go to our guys overseas. It's a smokescreen. You see, when they do gentrification and they drain out your neighborhood, there was a law in place that was all the way into the 2000s. Our people in our community fought it, and it happened in many communities around the world, that major chains could not go into the inner cities. There was a law. You couldn't have a major chain into an inner city because it would drain out and kill the local business. So giant corporations could not come in and penetrate the market that was already there. But in the late 2000s and early, like right before the new millennium hit, they were trying to veto that act so that they could make a move and position themselves to get in and make changes. See, back in the 80s, black people were smart. 70s and 80s, when they had an opportunity to buy land, buy houses, buy property, they did. There were a lot more black-owned businesses at that time that owned their own property. They weren't paying rent. They actually owned the land. They had, the way the buildings that they had were structured, they could live upstairs and have a business downstairs. the way the houses used to be structured back in the olden days. So when you start having companies like Walmart, Target, all of these big chains started to move in, Myers, move into these towns when they were never allowed. They had to be in an inner city where everyone, like downtown in those areas. Once they passed that law, which people fought, it drained the businesses. People was like, they didn't have to sell that land. They did. And I had an argument with this with some people who love to argue without looking at or listening to the facts. They did have to sell, because if your business is how you keeping your property and your land, you have to pay taxes. So if you don't pay your taxes, guess what? They're going to take it. So if you bring a major corporation in like Target, who can afford to keep their prices low, you can't do that. If you're a mom and pop regular business, you can't sell it at those prices. You got to sell it higher to make your money. They can lowball you and say, well, we'll give it to you for $9.99. They gotta sell it to you at $16.99, or they're not gonna make any money. They're not trying to rob you. They're not gonna make any money. They don't have the money and the infrastructure to do all that. So you're gonna run over there where it's $9.99. You're not gonna pay $16.99 to support the black business that's in your community, that's doing things for the community. You're gonna go and give it to that big billion-dollar corporation that don't care about you. But what they're gonna do to sell you to go to them? We're gonna bring jobs to the community. Sounds familiar, don't it? We're gonna employ all these blacks. Look how many jobs we're gonna open. And they sell to people on it. Yeah, see, because they offering jobs, though. See, they coming with all them jobs, opening up. They look at all them jobs there. They open up a Walmart and a Target, and they hire them people. How many of them people are very stable? They could survive just working off Walmart or Target. Those are little minimal jobs that don't pay much, and you don't get your hours. You're working basically part-time, and you're not making any real money. And that's nothing for their bottom line. And it does nothing for your community. And I told people that. And I'll say, you're going to see. But it's something they could say, and they could put on paperwork to say that they're bringing jobs over. But look who's the general manager. Look who the people who are executives of the company. They're not from your community. But this is how we fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You know, we sit there and go, wow, at least he's doing something. No, he's not doing anything. He's talking. That's what he's doing. Kanye's a talker. And he says a bunch of radical words and throw them together, and they all over the place. And people think he's enlightened because he's very passionate. People can be very passionate and confused at the same time. Stop and frisk is illegal. You need probable cause to stop anybody, Monk. So yes, stop and frisk should be very illegal. You shouldn't. You need probable cause to stop and frisk anybody. My thing is stop and frisk. It only seems to appear in the urban communities. I don't see stop and frisk in the rich homes and none of this stuff. You thought somebody was playing on your phone. Rich people complain and I stop listening. See, here's the thing. If Kanye West wanted to help black people, he could have done it a long time ago. When Kanye West was at the height of his career, he wasn't thinking, let me help black people. Kanye West sold his soul on national television a long time ago when they made him apologize to Bush. Matt Lauer made him apologize to George Bush live on his Today Show. Well, they weren't going to push out the budget for his next album. Kanye had to do that. People were mad at me for saying that's when Kanye sold out. That's when he sold his soul. He was having a difficult time doing it too. A very difficult time selling his soul. Yeah, if you want to, you can donate $1. You can donate whatever you want. You click the link in the description box. It's there. I'm appreciative of every donation I get, bro. Oh, they went after my video. They were mad I had that video up of Kanye West selling out live on TV. We supported Kanye. The city got behind him and rallied and made sure his album was #1. And we made sure Kanye album, when he came out, he was gonna be #1. And that's when he had My Dark Twisted Fantasy. He dropped that, and this was at the height of the Taylor Swift. All that stuff was going on. We was like, man, we ain't finna get rid of no Kanye for no Taylor Swift. And so Chicago stood up and supported him. We stood by him through all of it. Even though we was like, man, they made Kanye go and sell out live. But he sold out then. Then you start seeing him with Amber Rose drinking Hennessy out the bottle. It's like, what's going on with this dude? Something's wrong. Something's off. But his mother not being him to guide him when he was mostly guided by her inspiration. And her not being here no more, he was already psychologically difficult. Oh yeah, well when Kanye did that, he was done. When they made him go on TV and apologize, he did that for Matt Lauer. You know why? Matt Lauer was the executive producer of that charity event for the people to donate money to Katrina. He was the executive producer of that. So when Kanye said George Bush don't care about black people, and he was speaking from the heart. When they show black people out there doing stuff, they're stealing. But when they show white people stealing stuff, they're searching for food. Which was true. That was the narrative they were posed. But he was saying this on the air. It was disgusting to hear. So he got all emotional and says, George Bush don't care about black people. And they had to cut him off the air. And he was kicked off the set. And for years, they were going to get Kanye back. Kanye got in financial problems, and he was not going to get anywhere where he wanted to go until he came and apologized. They were going to make it really difficult for promotion, for anything he wanted to get done. And he had to go on that show and apologize for George Bush. Then they brought George Bush on the show right after it and played it. I mean, Kanye came to Chicago and cried, y'all. He came and cried on the radio, and people in Chicago forgave him. Because we're forgiving people. Black people in nature, we have an inner button that we hit. We have compassion. It's in us to be compassionate, to forgive. And people use that to prey on our weakness. They do something messed up and then they turn around and goes, oh, well, we're sorry. We're sorry. Then they end up doing something again. Not necessarily. A lot of them do. They bought up a lot of that property when it became available. Well, in the community, what's black people food? How many soul food spots you see?
To controversy, and he's back in the headlines this week for his comments about former President George W. Bush. We're going to hear from him in a moment, but first, as we've mentioned, President Bush opens up in his new memoir about that famous moment when West said George Bush doesn't care about black people. It's something I asked President Bush about when we sat down recently in Texas.
I didn't appreciate it then. I don't appreciate it now. It's one thing to say, I don't appreciate the way he's handled his business. It's another thing to say this man's a racist. I resent it. Disgusting moments of my presidency.
Now you see that's the president talking about Kanye West when he said care about black people.
Term president who ran the country during Katrina, 9/11, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, meltdown, and he's pointing the finger at Kanye West and that incident as the worst moment in his presidency. I asked Kanye West to respond.
That's not what he said. You see how he already lied on the and twisted the words? He didn't say it was the worst moment of his presidency. He said it was one of the worst moments of his presidency. It was one of them. It wasn't the most.
In Bush's remarks.
As far as it being the worst moment of his presidency, I can't really speak to that, but as his take, his explanation, I completely agree with and I empathize with totally. And I felt like that the entire time that, I was being, hailed as a hero and everyone saying, yo, I'm so happy you said that. And I didn't like you before, but now I like you because you said this, and you just sit there and in your heart as a person that in a moment of emotion to peg someone or to call a name or peg someone as a racist is not, it's just not right.
Yeah, there was great frustration with the response to Hurricane Katrina. And there we were standing there. It was just a few days, less than a week afterward. But while most people expressed frustration, you did take it across a line, and you said you made it a little more sinister, that the federal response to Katrina was because of race. And so do you regret having said that now?
I don't want to speak on the word regret. And I think a lot of things that happen in America, period, are because of race, just the way this country was built and like so many, it's a way bigger conversation than that. What I wanted to speak to with Bush was just to say that I empathize with the idea of being pegged as a racist.
Just play the tape. Don't even listen this time. I want you to just look at his face when he is commenting about you. And just look at him. I mean, this is the most emotional got during my entire 3
He's like, look at him. Just look at him. What does he got to look at him
say to
for?
him if he would meet with you face to face? And I'm not sure he would, but if he would.
I didn't need you guys to show me the tape in order to like prompt my emotion to what I'm going to say.
Look, he's mad.
What would you say to him?
I don't want y'all to.
I came up here because I wanted to say something to him right after the fact. I would say, what I'm saying? It's like I don't even have to do the TV stuff with me. This is the reality. This is the real thing going on. This is, what I'm saying? I don't need all the jazz. I would say to, can we be quiet for a second?
Look at him. He's having a hard time. He's upset because they're putting him in this position. They're really giving him the whole smear. They giving him the music in the background. He's like, I don't need all this. Stop.
TV stuff.
I don't need all the TV stuff. You don't have to do all this. Matt Lauer, like, yeah, I do. You put me in a hot spot. Because, man, they blame Matt for it.
Pegged as a racist.
Just play the tape. Don't even listen this time. I want you to just look
don't
at
even
his
listen.
face.
Just look at his
When
face.
he is
You don't need to look at his face. What do you need to look at his face
This is
for?
the most emotional he got during my entire 3.5 hour interview with him. What would you say to him if he would meet with you face to face? And I'm not sure he would, but if he would.
I didn't need you guys to show me the tape in order to like prompt my emotion to what I'm going to say.
I'm just asking you, when you look at his face, what would you say to him?
Pre-looking at his face, I came up here because I wanted to say something to him right after the fact. I would say, what I'm saying? It's like I don't even have to do the TV stuff with me. Can we be quiet for a second? I would tell George Bush, in my moment of frustration, that I didn't have the grounds to call racist.
You're sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for.
I think I get the point.
I want to give it the exact perfect wording, because everything that I say gets taken and drawn into headlines, and I'm here to man up to different mistakes that I made and speak to the moment when I pegged George Bush as a racist. I came here to say that I made mistakes, that I've grown as a person, and that it's not as easy as boxing someone into a villain role or into a race role. I did not have enough information in that situation to call him a racist. That might have been the emotion that I felt. But me being a rational, well thought out, empathetic human being, and thinking about it after the fact, I would have chosen different words. Even in these times where I was considered to have done something so wrong, my motivation was from a good place. Maybe mistimed, maybe not the right wording, not using or realizing the power of my words and the way they would stop the internet. But nonetheless, that it's very pure and from a good place.
So it sounds to me, not to oversimplify, what you're saying is we're human and we make mistakes, but we have to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And during the interview, Kanye West also told me that he empathized with President Bush because he too.
Oh my God. So as you can see, this is where it all went down. They made him go up there and apologize to George Bush. Matt did. He had to do it on Matt's show because he screwed Matt over. Because Matt was the executive producer of that show. So you see Matt leading him along. He was like, and you're sorry. So when it came out,
Hey, Ryan.
and everybody was like, Kanye
Listen,
sold out.
It's becoming a little bit of a problem that you aren't.
At first, it was Kanye West taking on President Bush. Then it was Kanye and Taylor Swift. Well, now it's Kanye and Matt Lauer. Showbiz Tonight host AJ Hammer is in New York with our Showbiz update. So, AJ, what happened?
Well, Fred, Kanye West and Matt Lauer had a pretty uncomfortable interview. It ran this morning on the Today Show. Kanye somehow managed to turn a heartfelt apology to former President George W. Bush into yet another controversial moment for him. Kanye was trying to apologize for having called Bush a racist, but when the interview was being taped, Kanye apparently felt like he was being manipulated, and he proceeded to go on one of his trademark Twitter rants after the interview. He claimed that the interview was brutal, that Matt Lauer tried to force his answers, and that he's done with talking to the press. So, of course, everyone was watching this morning, and you can see from the interview that West and Lauer weren't exactly having a comfortable conversation. I want to play for you a part of their chat where Lauer was trying to get West to react to some video of President Bush. Let's look at that.
See? That way he did what you asked him to do, but he still kept his black people, his black voice. And we did. We rallied behind Kanye. We said, you know what, yay, screw Taylor Swift. We riding with Kanye West. That was Beyonce award. Single Ladies was way better than that song. We rallied behind Ye. When they said that album would flop, it soared. Chicago put that song, they put him on the map. We rushed the stores and sold out. And they was like, man, we didn't order enough. We didn't think Kanye still had it. Yeah, Snoop kind of went far, man. Snoop went kind of far with that. Snoop was just wow. I mean, you don't say nothing like that. I don't care if the guy's wife was the biggest hoe in America. Unless you really had problems with the man, you know. Mm. Oh, Dave Chappelle. That's going to be a whole nother conversation for another day. I know. But I tell you what, I'm going to leave right now. Get situated. I'll holler at y'all later.